Dominic Marconi here, Executive Director of the Oregon chapter of the Pacific Northwest section. And today in 2022, I am kicking off our January Spotlight with Nic Sherman from Pine Ridge Golf Club. Nic, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, Dominic, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So why don't you let everybody know just a little bit about who you are and where you're at?
Sure, of course. So my name is Nic Sherman. I'm Director of Golf at Pine Ridge Golf Club in Springfield, Oregon. Used to be the Springfield Country Club. Went through some ownership changes about 4 years ago. It's been rebranded as Pine Ridge. It's just up in the foothills outside of Eugene, Springfield, about 10 minutes from downtown.
Awesome. In the spotlight, you mentioned that this is your second stint to becoming a PGA member.
Absolutely.
What was it for you that made you want to become a golf professional?
So I got started in the business back in '97 when I was in college at Southern Oregon University. Decided that I really liked playing golf. My wife was a full-time teacher at that point, so when I wasn't in class, I was hanging out at the golf course, and I needed to find some way to pay for my rounds of golf instead of trying to pay for them every single time because I was a broke college student. The pro that was at Oak Knoll in Ashland at the time was looking for a shop assistant. So he hired me for that job and decided that I would much rather spend my life working at the golf course than staring at a computer screen.
I know in the golf business, days off are a dime a dozen, but tell us what you do on your time off when you're not at the club.
Absolutely. So when I'm not out here or working from home on things for the golf club, I try to get outside, spend some time with my wife, my daughter when she's around, and our two dogs. And we get outside, we go for some hikes, we do a little bit of walking, outside sporting events, just anything, just basically get outside.
Why don't you tell us who some of your mentors are in the golf business?
Of course. So because my experience in the business has been a little different than a traditional, becoming a head professional path, when my wife and I had our daughter in 2000 and moved from Medford back up into Springfield, the first job I found in the golf business was out at Fiddler's Green. I knew some of the guys out there pretty well from other jobs. And it's a great spot. They pretty much are very, very easy people to work with out there fitting golf clubs and helping people into the right equipment. And I was lucky enough to work next to Tim Whalen for about 5 years, about 6 feet from him. And he's been just one of the nicest people I've met. And I've learned an awful lot about how I should be interacting with people by just observing Tim. And I feel grateful that I had that kind of time to work with him.
That's great. Where is the best place that you've traveled to, and tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. So we like to travel a lot. My wife's a school teacher, so she has summers off. And before I got started out in this position, when I was working at Fiddler's, I could pretty much take my vacation any time of year. So we typically like to go to Big Island on Hawaii. We went to Hawaii for our honeymoon back in 1993, and we just keep going back and back, and it just never gets tired and it never gets old.
So Nic, I know you mentioned that right now you're working on your player development programming at the club. Why don't you tell us what you've got going on?
So River Ridge Golf Club just recently closed, and Aaron Oakley, the head professional over there, is going to bring his whole junior program, his Nike Junior Camps, his PGA Junior League, out to our facility. So I'm really looking forward to collaborating with Aaron and kind of learning a little bit about how he programs all of his stuff out here at Pine Ridge, and maybe, sort of piggyback off of what he's doing.
Awesome. Yeah, Aaron is he's pretty awesome when it comes to PGA Junior League and player development programming. So definitely he would be an asset for you.
I can't wait to really pick his brain and kind of learn from him, since he has such a great junior program.
If you were not doing what you're currently doing right now at the golf course, what do you think you'd be doing?
So if I didn't fall into the golf business back in 1997, I would have finished my degree in computer science, ended up as a programmer somewhere, and probably been retired at this point, just playing golf for fun. But
that sounds like a pretty good idea.
I'll be honest, I wouldn't trade, my time in the golf business for the opportunity to be early retired. I think I made the right choice, working with people every day, being around the golf business, out at a beautiful place where the grass is manicured, get to travel. I couldn't ask for anything better.
Well, I certainly don't disagree, and I totally am on board with that. Hey, so when you're out on the town and having a great time, if somebody came up to you and said, "Hey, you're going to sing a karaoke song," which one are you doing?
We're gonna do the Chariots of Fire theme song by Vangelis. It's instrumental, so you don't have to listen to me sing. I would never subject anyone to that ever.
You just stand up there and look
I'm just
good
gonna
doing
stand
it?
up there and kind of wave back and forth.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, if there's one piece of advice you can give to a new golf professional coming in or currently in the business, what would it be?
That's a great question. For me, what I found through my experience in the business is um, trying to be the river and not the rock in a lot of situations will be beneficial. Um, just sort of rocks are very steadfast and sturdy and immovable and don't necessarily like to be flexible to solve different situations in different ways. So you'll have a lot of different problems that you encounter as a golf professional. And if you're rigid in your thinking, it's going to be very hard to come out with positive outcomes for every situation.
Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing that. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
But I just encourage everyone who sees this and is interested in what we're doing down here at Pine Ridge to swing by. Just give me a shout and come on down. Things are getting better and better and better out here. Conditions are improving. Um, it's a fun golf course. So it's a good time. Give me a call.
Well, Nick, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to let everybody know a little bit more about who you are and what you're doing out at Pine Ridge.
Well, Dominic, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it and everything that you do for the chapter.
Thanks.